We have a special guest with us, and I think it's so appropriate on today to have Pebbles Thompson with us. And Pebbles started a ministry, I guess, about her and her husband, I should say, started a ministry about 6 years or so ago. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful ministry. And I think about how thankful so many people are about this ministry and young people in particular. And just to set this up, Pebbles started this ministry again some years ago as she felt there was a need for those children, both in traditional families, I suppose, and we'll let her fill us in, and foster children that come out of abused family relationships and that go to an investigative doctor's visit, and where this is discovered. And I can only imagine what these children feel like as they come out of these visits with the doctors, the dignity that has been lost, and how difficult it is. I came, and I say this, a lot of people know this about my testimony. My mother was a drug addict, alcoholic all my life. I was raised in a very abusive situation. And when our producer, Devin Patrick, told me about the opportunity to interview Pebbles, of course, this is so near and dear to my heart. Now, I didn't have any ministries or anybody to really turn to at that point. Wish I had, but I know firsthand how important it is for young people. So, Pebbles, I am so grateful to you and your husband for being committed to such an important ministry. I mean, you can't even imagine how grateful I am. Because I once was told when I was working in an Alateen program as a young man. I was single, didn't know the Lord, but it was at a church, and the pastor and I became good friends. And he was always trying to lead me to the Lord. You know, he would sit with me and have dinner. He and his wife, they were still pastoring, but they were in their 60s and they were empty nesters. And he would sit with me, and he was a very demonstrous guy. I mean, he was really like in your face kind of guy. He was a great pastor. He was a Pentecost. He had a pretty big Pentecostal church in Maryland, and he was a great guy. And I would never have any of it. I was not, I didn't need the Lord. I was in the church. I had too many. But one day I said to him that, I said, Norm, it was about 2:00 in the morning, and we were sitting up over a pot of coffee, and Norm was just hammering at me. And I said to him one day, I said, Norm, let me ask you a question. If the Lord, as you say, knows me, loves me, or cares about me, why is it that I can still hear the tumblers in the front door knob clicking as I was coming home from school, going into the house, not knowing what was in store for me, and the fear that I can feel that today, and the pain of that as if it was, just happening. And no God that loved me would allow that. And that was my position. And Norm said to me, he said, Dan, that's what I'm talking about. You just don't, you're so stupid. I mean, I think that's what his words were. He said, God's never going to let you forget that, because I've seen you with these kids, and I've seen the compassion that you've had. If he lets you forget that, you wouldn't be able to minister the way you do, And I think I said something like, all right, Norman, I'm out of here. I'm going home. I just didn't want to hear it. Right. But he was right. I found that out later in years, and he's still right. Here I am, an old man now, for all practical purposes, and I still feel I have so much compassion for young people in these situations, and that's why I say to you, I'm so grateful for the ministry that you have. Well, tell our listeners about what you are doing, and make sure. And I want to. What's your website?
Ignitelight.org.
Okay, ignitelight.org, because I want our listeners to know about the ministries. Go ahead. Tell us about how this started and what you are doing to give some encouragement to these young people.
Sure. We had started a youth ministry at a church plant, and we were very happy there. We thought that would be the rest of our life, was doing traditional youth ministry. And I had kind of fallen into this box where I thought, if I'm not meeting somebody, if I'm not sharing the gospel, if I'm not leading them to Christ and plugging them into this amazing discipleship program, then I'm just not doing my part as a good Christian. And God got a hold of me and gave me one word, and it was pajamas. It made absolutely no sense because I didn't know of any ministry out there that had anything to do with pajamas. And so I began to pray for about a full year, and I heard nothing. And I'm a mom of 4, so I pray a lot in the shower because I get about 10 minutes uninterrupted in there. And so I was praying one day, and I said, Lord, I just don't get it. If you're not going to tell me what this is, just give me something to call it, because I'm starting to think I stepped down from a position that I love and that I missed hearing you. And the Lord spoke to my heart that day and said, Pebbles, you're missing the point. It's not about the pajamas. It's about what they represent. And in those dark times, late at night, when they're afraid, I will be their light. And I have flashes of abused children. I call it my burning bush moment. And my heart broke that day, and the way that I see people and the way that I see ministry has forever been changed. So I got out of the shower, and I ran down the hall, and I told my husband everything that I felt like the Lord was laying out for me that day. And then the next 2 days, I'd get into the shower, and I'd get a new piece to the puzzle, and I'd go running back down the hall. And at the end of the third day, he just said, Pebbles, you're going to have to quit showering. This is just too big for us. But we stepped out in faith, and what we learned over the course of that week was that in our state alone, 3,583 children were seen the year before for physical abuse, sexual abuse, and neglect. Wow. And then that number jumped to 4,010 the next year and steadily climbs each additional year. Wow. And as we began to learn about what children go through when they're removed from their homes, we discovered what's called a child advocacy center. And as I was sitting down with the medical staff and they were telling me what the process looks like when a child is removed by social services or law enforcement, and then they're brought into this medical center where they undergo an exam and they're stripped down and their wounds are photographed and documented, and then they're led into another room to share their story and give an interview. As they're telling me this, as a mom, my heart's just breaking. And one of the nurses said, unfortunately, due to some of the abuse, we have to confiscate the evidence or the clothing as evidence, and we take that clothing away and we seal it in a Ziploc bag. And I said, well, what are they wearing out, or what are they going home in or in foster care in? And she said, well, we kind of scramble as a staff, and if we can't find anything, then we put them back into their hospital gown and we send them out in a hospital gown. And we just felt like it added to the humiliation of a difficult day. And so we decided no child in our state should ever be sent home in a hospital gown ever again. And we began putting backpacks together, which was basically everything that I would pack for my own child to spend the night away from home. And it's not meant to be something that carries them through the rest of their foster care journey, because it's a very long journey once a child is in this process. But it is there to help them through that first night where they're terrified, where all their items are typically thrown in a trash bag, and it's very few belongings at that. This is meant to be things that are brand new that they need, so that they know that somebody cared for them in those darkest hours when those closest to them couldn't.
Wow. What a great ministry. So you put things in there that are going to be theirs, that they can, and I assume that you have people contributing to your ministry, obviously, and that's why I wanted you to give the website out, that are participating. Tell me, how's the ministry grown? Where were you 2 years ago, and where are you today?
Sure. We started off in just our local community. That was just our main idea, and we thought, man, this would be fantastic if we could grow this statewide in 5 years. Well, God had us debt-free and statewide in our first year. Wow. And we just began sharing with anybody and everybody who would listen, hey, we're doing this. Well, our local community center told the next nearest center, and they told the next center, and it just expanded. So now we're currently in 3 states, and we are launching a training program where we can get other communities and states involved. We're hoping that other churches will say, hey, we just want to support our local abused and neglected children. We want to pack backpacks. So we're developing a training program so that it can be a smooth, easy, new program that they can pick up where they can begin serving their own children.
We're speaking to Pebbles Thompson. Her and her husband started a ministry some years ago called Ignite. Right, yeah, Ignite Light. ignitelight.org. All one word, ignitelight.org. And this is a ministry for abused children. And that's what we're talking about here. So, Pebbles, I mean, it's amazing that you've grown now to 3 states. This is a ministry that obviously has to be throughout the country. And right now, there are pastors listening to this. We have a lot of pastors that listen to this program. They're listening to this program that are could have an opportunity to maybe raise someone up in their church that could take a hold of a project like this. They would get a hold of the ministry, get a hold of you, and you would give them some ways and how to get started.
Definitely. If they just want to log on to our website, ignitelight.org, they can get involved. There's a tab on there, Get Involved, or if they want to contact us, they can contact us, and they can just ask any questions they have, and we'll gladly walk through this process of how they can be serving their local abused children.
Pebbles Thompson, it's called ignitelight.org. And what was that, Devin? I'm sorry, Devin. What's your phone number? Do you have a phone number? Do you take?
We're 701-646-HOPE.
646-HOPE. 717-646. What was that?
701.
Oh, 701. I'm sorry. 701.
646-HOPE.
646-HOPE. 701-646-HOPE. And, you know, I hope people that want to give to this ministry, and certainly people that want to participate in this ministry in their state, in their church, will call. What an incredible ministry. And all I can think about is the difference of the child leaving this situation in a hospital gown compared to a child leaving with their own little backpack and some clothes on their back, and the dignity that is restored even at that moment. What an incredible ministry. And I just wish all of God's blessings on you, Pebbles, and your husband. So grateful for the ministry that you've done. Ignitelight.org, ignitelight.org, 701-646-HOPE. If you want to get a hold of Pebbles and find out more about the ministry, 701-646-HOPE. Pebbles, I thank you so much. I would love to have you back in 6 months or so and continue to get updates. Such an incredible ministry, and just pray all of God's blessings upon you. Thank you for stepping out that first day in faith. Thank you.